Good afternoon and welcome to Cooking with Grace. I am your host, Diane Duncan, and with me this afternoon is Miss Joy Bettis. And we are going to be talking today about what Joy does for a living. She is a school teacher here in St. Joseph, and so I just kind of wanted to talk to her about what that's like and just get to know Joy a little bit more. But first, we're going to make easy, simple peanut butter cookies. So grab your kids and we're going to get started with this 3-ingredient recipe. You're going to need peanut butter, sugar, a cup of peanut butter, and an egg, and that's it. And I have a few stories for today. So one of them is peanut butter cookies are my favorite cookie.
Yeah,
and
wrong.
No, my whole life they've been my favorite cookie. And so Jason knows this, and I'll never forget. I was having like a rough day or something like that, and he went to the kitchen and came out, and the next thing I know, like literally within 10 minutes, I had peanut butter cookies.
Wow.
And I am like, oh, and they were wonderful.
And they were probably warm.
Oh, they were.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was like, oh my gosh, I was just so, that's so awesome, you're so wonderful. And I was like, how did you do that so fast? And he was like, not gonna tell you. Nope, it's a secret. So I was just sitting here oohing and awing because my grandmother, every time she knew I was coming to visit, which my grandma lived literally down the street and around the corner from me growing up, whenever she knew I was coming up, she made peanut butter cookies for me. And so I knew it took her like an hour to make peanut butter cookies. And I was just like, my husband, oh, he's so awesome, right? So anyway, so during the quarantine, I come across this recipe. And I'm like, it takes 9 minutes in the oven. I think this is the recipe. So after this airs, I'm going to ask him, is this what you're doing? So anyway, we'll go ahead.
Does he still make peanut butter cookies for you?
Not really, because our lives have gotten a lot crazier. That was pre-kids in high school. So yeah, but I'm sure if I asked, he'd do it. But anyway, Joy and I might be talking kind of loudly. We have to keep the fans going on in the ovens, and so I'm loud anyway. But Joy's a teacher.
And I have my teacher voice.
Yes.
And I also have the teacher look.
Yes, and I hope she doesn't have to use that today.
Right.
But we're going to have fun. We're going to make these cookies. We're going to stick them in the oven, and then we're going to talk. So, Miss Joy, would you like to scoop out a cup of peanut butter? So what they recommend is smooth. But Joy and I were talking. I like crunchy.
All the way.
So I like the peanuts in it, and I like that when you have the cookie and you finally lay the cookie out, that the cookie has those little chunks in it. So it looks, I don't know, but that could just be me, but you could use smooth if you want to. I think the person who wrote the recipe preferred smooth. So
smooth might make it a little more moist. If it's maybe oilier or something, I don't know.
I don't know. I know
I'm not a chef, so.
The ones Jason made were super moist, so we'll see if I can ruin this. Anyway, we all know I am not a professional. So I'm going to dump in my cup of sugar that I already have pre-measured.
Can I lick this like the kids would?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I love you, but not that much. So
I don't think I want straight peanut butter. Some people do though.
Oh, I'll lick it off a knife in a heartbeat. Anyway, once you get that, go ahead and dump it on in there. And I'm going to go ahead and crack this and put that in there. I don't know if you watched last week, but Noah showed us how to crack an egg.
Oh.
Yeah, I learned I needed to work with him on that. So
wow.
Yeah. So anyway, now Joy, if you want to stir that up.
Okay. 3 ingredients.
Yep. Now I don't know how the stirring process is going to go because it is very dry. I mean, but yeah, very nice.
I watch Food Network all the time. I've always wanted to be on a cooking show, so you know.
This is your big break.
This is my, I think I could be on Chopped sometime.
Oh,
really.
Definitely. Oh, Jason calls the show Chopped sometimes because he's like, what are you putting together? And I'm like, seriously, I'm trying to find ingredients that we have just sitting around our house that we can make something with our kids that's not real difficult.
Actually, the sugar is really dissolving in the peanut butter pretty well.
Good. And it doesn't look so dry now.
No. It's pretty good.
Yeah. So one thing I forgot to grab was a spoon so we could drop the dropfuls. So I'm going to grab that.
I'll just keep mixing. I'm going to over-mix it.
I don't know if you can over-mix.
Okay.
And then, did your mom ever do the fork crisscross?
Oh, yeah. She put sugar on the fork and crisscrossed it. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want to do. I want to do the crisscross pattern. I don't know if people today still do the crisscross on their cookies or not, on their peanut butter cookies. That's the only cookie I've ever seen. You press your fork and then you press your fork. So go ahead and start dropping.
I'm not sure how big you want them to be.
Oh, however.
Petite or?
Enough so my fork can go across them. I think that's perfect.
Okay.
So just start laying them out.
My finger?
Go ahead.
I did just wash my hands.
We washed our hands. And
Here, I'll put this over here.
well, I'm left-handed, so I don't know.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Well, and then we can switch places.
Oh yeah, that should probably be better. So as you can tell, we're not professional. I don't know if you saw my very first one with Michael.
I did.
But,
it was fun.
So did you see my flatbread fall off the
Oh,
grill?
yes, I did.
Yeah.
I sure did see that. Yes.
So I mean, it's almost like we have to have something,
Right.
you know? So anyway, I'm gonna push my fork in like
it's
that.
really soft.
It is very soft. And we have our oven at 350. And it's warming up so that we can, so we can drop these in there as soon as we're done. And then we'll leave them in the oven for like 9 minutes. Now the thing about peanut butter cookies, I think, is they don't really spread out. So pretty much, I think that's why you're supposed to use the fork to like,
Oh, makes sense.
you know, because I mean, I've never really seen a peanut butter cookie really,
Yeah.
you know, not like a chocolate chip cookie anyway. Because, you know, you drop those by the rounded spoonfuls and then they,
Yeah,
you
they
know.
do.
Don't know if
I
that's
can't get my chocolate chip cookies to ever, they always turn out flat and crispy. I can't get them to be like that
okay.
classic texture.
You want to know a secret?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if my mother-in-law is watching this, I might be in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Because my mother-in-law is an excellent cook. And she shared with me, when you make chocolate chip cookies, I'm giving away my secret because my chocolate cookies are pretty infamous. You know how you're supposed to put, like, I think it's 2 1/4 cups of flour or whatever? Well, I add a package of vanilla pudding,
I've heard that before.
the mix. And when you do that, they're perfect, and they stay perfect forever. So if you've never done that, give that a try. And so I'm not revealing a secret then if you knew about it
Well,
already.
I did, but I never do it because I don't ever have pudding at my house, and then
Yeah.
usually it's kind of on a whim that I make cookies and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I have a Marine, so I'm sending things all the time
Yes.
except for right now because their post office is closed where he's at.
Uh-huh.
But I'm always sending cookies, so I always grab a couple bags of chocolate chips and a couple boxes of the pudding mix, just because I know at some point I'm going to be making cookies.
Right. I just need to keep that on hand.
Yeah, well, at least a box. I mean, of course, you have a senior this year.
Yeah.
So,
So do you.
yeah. So I'm going to be empty nesting it, but you're not. But
Not totally.
yeah, I say he probably eats his weight in cookies when you make some.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
He usually takes about 5 more than he really wants to eat, and then they get stuck in his room so nobody else gets them, you know?
Well, save them
True
for later.
story. True story.
That's okay. They'll get eaten at some point if he's like
Yes.
my kids.
Well,
It's-
maybe.
I say, I don't think sugary food, desserts go to
Yeah.
waste too awful
Yeah.
much.
Not, no.
So, okay, this is my last one.
Yep.
Miss Joy, you did excellent.
Oh, there's one more here.
Oh, I didn't even see that one. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the oven, and then we will start chatting. So honestly, that made enough for like your family. I mean,
I think I counted maybe 18 or 20 of them.
yeah, so everybody gets a couple of cookies, and unless it's at my house, and then I will hide them like Jeremiah does because they're peanut butter. So, but anyway, I just wanted to talk to you. I know you're a teacher in St. Joseph School District. I know that you're not originally from here, right? So why don't you kind of take us back a little bit? Where did you grow up, and how did you come to know Christ?
Okay. I grew up in Trenton, Missouri, and my whole family lives, well, not my whole family. I have a couple siblings that don't live in Trenton anymore, but I grew up really close. Grew up in church. My parents were very involved in the church. My dad believed in giving to missions, and My grandma was a prayer warrior, and I remember going to her house. She'd always have her Bible laid open on her lap, almost no matter when we went. That's the way we found her. And she was older whenever I was young, seeing her. But so I just grew up in church. My mom was part of the best ministry, headed that up, and so lots of evangelism on Saturday mornings and going out and inviting kids to church. And I was thinking back yesterday, the friends that I had in school were friends that rode the church bus. And so it's kind of a fun, I don't know that I'd ever really thought about that, but so I just remember we called her Sister Beulah Lane. Sister Lane was my Sunday school teacher probably when I was maybe 4 or 5. I don't really know how old I was, but I remember kneeling on the metal folding chair and kneeling in the floor during Sunday school class, and I remember exactly which room it was and everything. And we said the sinner's prayer, and as a 5-year-old, that I just remember doing that. And so I can't really say that I've ever walked away from God, but I can say that I have honestly been at points where God has used areas where I needed to grow to get closer to Him. And so I just am so thankful for the legacy that my parents and my grandparents have instilled, and even my grandparents on my mom's side were very involved in church, and that was important to them. And I just want to continue that for my children and my grandchildren, and have that blessed assurance for my family.
The peace that passes all understanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
Even
it
though
does.
sometimes, we have those moments where, we cry out,
Mhm.
we still know who holds
Absolutely.
everything.
That foundation is solid and firm.
Right.
And I don't know, I've said this so many times here lately, I don't know what people would do without having the Lord on their side. It's just, He is truth, and you can stand on His truth. And
I agree. Amen. Preach. Gotta
And-
preach. All right. So you got married. You're in St. Joe. I guess you went to college.
Yep.
You got your teaching degree.
Yep.
And did you immediately start teaching in St. Joseph?
No, I graduated in December, so for half a year I taught. I really didn't teach, and I didn't have my own classroom, but I was given a teaching position where I worked around various classrooms for Jefferson C123 back up in Maryville area.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a good experience, getting to see lots of different classrooms and different teaching styles. And really, honestly, there's no right or wrong. It's what works for your teacher and your kids. And the same thing at home. When you're at home teaching, it's like, I'm afraid I'm going to do this wrong. But honestly, love your kids, and you can't do it wrong. If they're feeling loved, they will be learning, and that's a good thing. So then I went to Ravenwood and taught there for a year. And again, I was told I was going to have my own classroom, but that didn't happen either. They didn't have the number of kids that they thought they were going to have. So they let me stay on, and I got to work with a couple, like 2 or 3 really good teachers up there. And so then in 2000, I came to St. Joe and started teaching 2nd grade at Hosea. And that was a lot of fun, and ended up having children while I was working there. And then I taught there 2nd grade for I think 8 years, and then now I've been at Pershing for I think this is my 13th year at Pershing.
Oh wow!
I've been teaching 21 years, so don't count up all that and see if I'm right or wrong. It's somewhere in those time frames.
Right.
So now I teach 6th grade, and I think this is my 11th year to teach 6th grade.
Oh wow!
So
okay, so 6th grade. That's a really interesting year, because at Savannah that's middle school.
right.
And we know that there's a lot of changes going on physically, mentally, friendship-wise. They're kind of trying to find their footing on what people group they fit into.
Right.
So with that being said, and now that we are in this quarantine time, how have you been meeting with your kiddos, meeting their needs, helping parents? What are you doing?
I'm just trying to stay as connected as possible. I think a lot of the kids are kind of feeling done with school,
Yeah.
and I get that, because you're at home and things are a different routine for all of us, and it is hard to find that. I do feel like the kids who have really dug into school and are trying to continue schooling at home, they have a routine going now, and I think that helps them. We have Google Classroom. Technology, if this had happened 20 years ago, I'll probably say that learning wouldn't be happening much.
Yeah.
But with technology, I'm able to do Zoom videos and do the Google Classroom, and parents are always able to email or call. I'm giving my phone number to different people, and so they can call. Just trying to stay connected, I think, is really important, and letting students and parents both know, hey, you know what? It's okay if you don't do everything that we would have done in the classroom. Do what you can. Don't get frustrated, and use this time to just grow in other ways besides just adding 2 plus 2. There's ways of cooking, or maybe, I've seen people talk about learning how to change oil or change a tire, or those balance a checkbook, make a budget for planning. I know Dave Ramsey's got his it's not called financial piece for the high school, but that's like a discounted rate for parents to buy that, and this would be a great time to instill some of those values that don't get taught in the classroom as much.
Definitely. I know, like when we're cooking, just using measurements.
Right.
Another way that I would personally, if I had littles at home, I would be like, okay, let's half the recipe.
Right.
And that's using math as well. And I just know because I've done that with my kids, because sometimes you get a really good recipe, but you're like, wow, that's too much for my family.
Or you need to double it.
Or you need to double it, exactly. And so I know I've done that with Michael when she was younger, and she'd be like, okay, wait a second, so I got to do math. And it's like, yeah, you do, because as a mom, or as a wife, or as a person, I know, okay, so I know you're a teacher, don't get mad, but I was like, I will never use some of this, ever. Well, you know what? I'm driving down the road, and I'm using algebra to figure out my mileage.
Right.
I mean, at 16, I would never have thought that, but at 40-something, that's important to me.
Yes.
So I'm using algebra. So, yeah, and you could even use that, hey, figure out my mileage, kiddo.
Right. Or if you're going to the grocery store, I've got this much money, how much change am I going to get back? Because nobody can count change anymore.
Right.
And so just all those hands-on practical things. Yes.
That's one thing that I did with my kids. Every time I went to the store was, okay, which one's the cheaper? And just because the price might be cheaper on the outside, you have to check ounces. And kids, I don't think that sometimes.
Right.
I'm going to go check on the cookies real quick.
I just think anything that you can do that's practical and hands-on and a life skill right now is going to be something that's really important to do. And keeping kids focused and their minds growing and learning, and that can happen in a lot of different ways. So these cookies smell really good.
Yes, I think they look a little done. I think our oven might just cook a little warmer, because when I made the cake mix cookies, they got a little brown as well. But, it's only on one side.
Yeah.
So anyway, they smell amazing. They did
do
spread
smell
out
good.
further than I thought they would.
Yeah.
But I think they look like normal peanut butter cookies. I mean, they're not, the perfect what you'd buy at a store, but
Now,
for
on the
3
Food
ingredients.
Network, they always taste what they bring out.
Yeah, I'm going to wait a minute.
And Guy Fieri, he just takes a bite, and then, I don't know how he doesn't have blisters in his mouth.
I agree. And
I don't even know if I said his name right.
I think you did. But even the stuff that he puts in his mouth, it was blistering hot.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what's it like having to teach a class with Google Classroom? Or is that like a video? Because my kids Zoom their classes.
Yeah.
Is it like a Zoom meeting?
No, Google Classroom is just a place that I post assignments that they can do. I can give them announcements on that. It's really a glorified, like a simplified Facebook.
Okay.
Is really what it is.
Okay.
And they can turn assignments in that way, which I don't use it that way, but lots of high school students are still using Google Classroom in St. Joe that way. And so, yeah.
Okay. So do you have parents calling you up like frantic or concerned?
I've had a couple, not frantic at all,
Good.
but a couple have been just questioning, wondering about wanting to make sure this is done right. And honestly, I don't just do something. And I love that they do care and they want to help their children succeed and not be behind when they get into next year's classes.
So that's a good follow-up. So going into your next year's 6th grade class, having 5th graders that didn't have this last quarter, because I know at Savannah we use that last quarter to introduce new things that they're going to be teaching next year. You're not going to have that.
Right.
How do you feel about that? Does that bring up concerns? Are you like, you know what, we're all going to be in the same boat?
We are, yeah. Well, and I think our state has done away with all end of the year testing, which I'm so thankful for. I don't know how anything could have been cohesive with all of that, or even valid, but that does take some pressure off. And so we all know, at least in the state of Missouri, and I'm sure other states have done the same thing, we're all in the same boat. And so next year, probably going to have to look at what did we not cover, and maybe not necessarily right off the bat, because I know in St. Joe our units, at least in math, kind of are separated by the year. So last unit of math we didn't even get to. So next year in 7th grade, when they get to that last unit, they're going to need to know, hey, we've got some makeup things to catch up in, and so there will be some catching up for sure. But kids are used to having a summertime, and they regress a little bit in the summer anyway. So we have kind of like 2 summers.
Right. So any tips for parents that are really worried about the regression that normally takes place, but then it's compounded?
I do think reading is really important, and reading for enjoyment, and not textbook, not reading off of Facebook or
right.
There is reading there, and there probably could be some inferring happening there. But just reading the books, and parents reading and finding enjoyment in that too. I don't love to read. I know that's like, as a teacher I should love to read, but I just don't. But that's something that is easy to there's so many books online and different things that you can find. So find something that you can enjoy together. And like we said, the cooking and the helping grocery shop and all of those things are just those hands-on practical experiences, and I think everybody will be okay.
Do you have any, are there any public television TV shows? Are there any documentaries that you think would be beneficial at this time?
Well, I know National Geographic has a lot of really good programs to watch that you can Google. Even at 6th grade, my kids love Bill Nye Science Guy, and I mean, I know he doesn't do a whole lot with creation. He is very science, but if you can find things that aren't, related to creation and the beginning of the world and all that, he is a fun guy to watch, and you can find lots of those things on YouTube. Even as a teacher, I go on YouTube and look for videos just to kind of find things that are going along with what we're teaching in class. And there's a lot of free things on YouTube that you can find just for whatever interest the kids are going to have, or whatever you're trying to study or help them not fall back on. Khan Academy.
C-O-N-N?
Actually, I think it's K. It is a K.
Oh.
K-A-U. No, I don't. If you Google start with K-H. K-H-A, and that's going to immediately bring up Khan Academy.
Okay, I've never heard of it.
They have a lot of videos. This is really good for math. So a lot of videos that will tutor you through a certain topic, and they have them for all grade levels, all the way through high school, probably even into lower college things, and some practice for you too. A little bit of practice. For the little guys, like ABC Mouse is good. I know you have to pay for that though. There's lots. If you just Google, Google is awesome.
So Google whatever you're wanting to help your child with. So
Yes.
Google, maybe 5-year-old math helps.
Right.
Would that be a good
Right.
Google search?
Yeah, or whatever topic if you're trying to teach them to add or whatever.
Okay.
And don't get frustrated with the new math, because it's okay. You're not. If you teach them how to do math the way you knew how to do math,
Carry the one.
it's going to be okay. The thing that you want to always remind them of is the why. Why are we doing this? And that's really what the new math is doing. And eventually, I promise, they get to a point where they will learn the way we always did, but they'll understand it better, hopefully.
Good.
And I do see that as a 6th grade teacher. A lot of times we're teaching them those traditional algorithms, and they do understand why we're doing it. Oh, you just bring a 1 up because it's not really 1, it's a 10, group of 10 over to the 10th column. But even in algebra and other things, they have a solid foundation, and so just hang with them, and as they get older, it will all make sense. I promise.
That is good to know, because I always wondered, why are all this.
Yes.
But, as my children got older, they didn't need my help.
Right,
And so I
right.
never knew it came full circle.
Yeah.
So
I do believe that sixth grade is when they start thinking, how can I make my math more efficient and not so jumbled and long-winded. So
that's good to know.
yeah,
So one more thing. With this whole, I'm a teacher, but I'm not a teacher, but I still have to be a teacher, but I have to do it for my house. I'm sure that's been kind of crazy on your life with just life going on around you
Right,
as well.
right.
So are there any verses or scripture or devotions or Bible studies that you've been doing that have really just like spoke to you the last
Yeah.
few weeks?
Well, in the morning, I always listen. I have the Bible app on my phone, and as I've done this for several years, and I love just listening to the Bible. You can have them read it to you, and I just, hop in the shower, turn my Bible on, and it just reads to me while I'm putting my makeup on, getting my hair done. And I have a program that lets me read through the year, and there's all kinds of different Bible reading programs that you can find through the Bible app, and it's free, and so I like free.
Yes.
And during this time, our church has been doing a lot of devotions, and I love those. I did miss mine this morning, actually. I just now realized that.
Sorry.
That's okay. I can always watch it later.
Yes.
But those, I have just gotten so much, it's amazing how, people who are giving those devotions are giving it to hundreds of people, but it can speak differently to each person's need. That's the wonderful thing about the Bible. And no matter what you're going through, God can speak through other people to help you get through your situation. And so those devotion times have been wonderful. I love the prayer times in the evening. I just think we're so blessed to have leadership that is doing all of that and reaching so many people, maybe even who wouldn't step a foot in the door, that
They'll watch Facebook. They'll
Yes,
watch YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people are seeking for peace and hope right now. And what better time do we have than to give them that?
Right.
So
All right. Well, are you ready to dive in?
I am.
I'll take this one.
I'm gonna take this one. Ooh, they're
Wow.
still warm.
They are, and they're kind of crispy on the outside, but when you break them over, they're still moist on the inside.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They don't look like they would taste like this.
Yeah, they look kind of dry, but they're really not at all.
Mm-mm. They're good.
I do like the crunchy peanut butter.
I do too.
Yep.
You can feel the nuts, but
Yep.
wow.
You have to try these at home. That's what they always say on
Yeah.
the Food Network.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
And another thing, when Guy Fieri really likes something, he keeps taking more bites.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've ever watched this or not, but if he takes one bite and he's like, oh yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Uh-huh,
It's
uh-huh.
like, yeah, I don't think it's that great.
Okay, here's his reaction. Oh, that's so wonderful.
Well, I'm going to finish eating this, but I'd like to say thank you for joining us today. Please tune in on Thursday for Coffee Chat, and next week, and then we'll do another Cooking with Grace, and we'll see how long this goes. So thank you very much. Take care. Have a good day.